This is Luke chapter 2, and I'm going to read what we just went through. At that time, the Roman Emperor Augustus decreed that a census should be taken throughout the Roman Empire. This was the first census taken when Quirinius was governor of Syria, and all returned to their own ancestral towns to register for this census. And because Joseph was a descendant of King David, he had to go to Bethlehem in Judea, David's ancient home. He traveled there from the village of Nazareth in Galilee, and he took with him Mary, to whom he was engaged, who was now expecting a child. And she blamed him the whole way there. And while they were there, the time came for her baby to be born. She gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him snugly in strips of cloth and laid him in a manger, because there was no lodging available for them. No lodging available for them. We know the story, and here at Big Fort Christian, we've been going through many aspects of this story, and we've been talking about specifically the shepherds and the interaction that they had with the angels, and we've looked at why is that significant, and shepherds in a field watching sheep, and what's that have to do with the story that seems random. We talked about that. You can go to YouTube and catch that message if you want to. I won't go into it right now. We looked at the angel and the power of joy, right? And you can go to a nativity scene, you can go read the story, but until you experience Christ in that, you don't experience the joy of it. We talked about that. We talked about the power of the good news and what that really means for us here today. But this morning, I want to look at this simple idea that there was no lodging available for them. I'm not going to take a ton of time this morning. I usually preach for 3 hours. You guys are going to get a short synopsis. No lodging available for them. Let me paint this picture. I said this last week, but I want us to hear it again. The baby that Mary is putting down into this manger, this is not just another baby. We just had a baby join our family. Not our family directly. We have enough already. But we've been praying for Tia's brother and Kimberly and their baby has been on its way. And I held the baby, what was it, Friday? Oh, you forget how little those things are, you know? A baby is little. And to think Mary is laying this baby down into this manger, but it's not just another baby. And we know the magnificent majesty, if you will, when you meet a new baby. And you're like, oh my goodness, this little thing was inside this mother for that long? And now it's here and I'm holding it. Can you imagine what Mary was feeling? She was told by an angel, you're going to be giving birth to the Son of God. And it says that she was disturbed. That was the word that was used. The angel says, hey, you're about to give, not right now, it's going to take 9 months. You know, that's the way it works. But you're going to carry this Son of God into the world. And it says she was disturbed. And now she's gone on this journey, okay? This Roman census that, oh, great, Rome's now making us go back to our ancestral towns. It's a 90-mile journey through the Judean mountains, okay? And she's pregnant and she's riding a donkey. This is not Uber, okay? This is not an easy ride. It probably took him 5 to 6 days. She wasn't a happy camper. And then she gets to Bethlehem, and it says there's no lodging for them. We're going to get to that. But can you imagine this moment where she's laying this baby into this manger? The fullness of God's promise, the task at which that she has been given, has now come really to the beginning, and she's laying this baby. Let me give you a quick idea, and I said this last week, but I don't want us to miss this again. This baby is not an ordinary baby. This baby is God becoming man. And let me paint the picture real fast. This is the Creator in the form of a creation. This is the voice that spoke all creation into existence, now making baby gurgles. I just held a little baby on Friday. Can you imagine the voice that spoke all of the world into existence? In the beginning, God said, "Let there be light." This voice is going, what? This is the eternal taking on flesh, the infinite becoming finite. This is the one who created time entering into time. This is the one who is all-powerful becoming vulnerable, the Almighty becoming weak, the one who breathed life taking its first breath. The hands that hung the stars now had fingerprints. Little baby's fingerprints are cute, really cute. And Jesus, the one who held the stars, who holds all the world in place, now has fingerprints. The greatest became the least. The omnipresent is now present. The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords has been laid into a manger. God became man. That's this moment where Mary is putting the baby into the manger. She travels all this way, and she ends up getting to Bethlehem, and she discovers there is no room for them in the inn. I imagine she looked at Joseph and said, "Did you not get reservations?" And Joseph's probably like, "No, I didn't think we'd need to." And she goes, "Do you ever think of anything?" And he's like, "Not really." And then they fight for a little bit, and then Joseph's like, "All right, now I'm going to go figure this out, and I'm going to solve it." And he goes and finds a barn over in the field. Here you go, Mary. One of the things that's amazing about this story is you and I often experience a lot of chaos in our life. But we don't usually read the Bible and feel the chaos that they would have felt. Can you imagine being Mary? You're like, where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to give birth to this baby? Like, for all the planners in the room, this is driving you nuts right now that there wasn't a plan. Not to mention the fact that, whatever plan Joseph and her had kind of eventually come to, now Rome steps in and is like, "You got to go to your old town." And you're like, what? The chaos that actually existed in this story is mind-boggling. And then to get all that way and discover there's no room in the inn. I want to look at that for a little bit. Our idea of a biblical Hebrew, Israeli, Judean inn is probably not correct. As we've looked at this story, I've been impressed with the idea that none of this is by chance. How often the chaos that you and I experience, we just feel like, oh my goodness, it's out of control. And they experienced it here. And yet God was orchestrating all of these things to perfect fruition. Prophecies were being fulfilled. The whole reason why he was born in Bethlehem is because of the prophecy. And you go through all this thing. God is orchestrating all of these events. And so I've been asking myself, God, why was there no room? What? Of all the things that are going wrong, why was there no room? Right? If you are God becoming man, you should have been born in a palace. If you're God becoming man, you should have been born with royal, pomp and circumstance and the whole 9 yards. If you were God becoming man, all of the news stations should have been outside that door getting ready to cover it. And yet, we're talking about they couldn't even have room in the inn. And I'm like, God, why? our understanding of an inn is, a motel. You check in at the door, you get your room key, there's a hot tub, we got this understanding of an inn. What was really happening here, this word inn in the Old Testament is the word kataluma. Can you guys say kataluma? It was a yes or no question, you guys. I didn't ask you to say it. Kataluma. This word is only used twice. Okay, Luke's the author. I'm not going to break this all down so crazy. But the word is only used twice. The other time this word is used is when Jesus is in the upper room breaking bread with his disciples. To understand what's going on here, we need to understand a typical Judean house, okay? A Judean house had usually 4 rooms, okay? There was an upper level and a lower level, okay? There was a guest room in the upper level. And then there was this thing called a stable that was in the lower level. And so if you and I were living in that time, we would have had our home, and then probably out in a courtyard or even under the same roof, we would have had a stable where we would have kept our animals, okay? It's similar to a garage. You guys know what a garage is, okay? That Ford Mustang back then was the real Mustang, okay? Parked in that garage, in that stable. That was pretty good. Thanks for Melissa, you laughed at that. That was great. And so when we see here that it says, and Jesus was laid into a manger because there was no lodging available for them, okay, what it's referring to is that all of the other rooms in that house were full. And so whether this house was family, whether this house was, the only people who, were like, we still have vacancy. I don't know how that worked when they rolled into town. But this is somebody's home, okay? And all the other rooms are full. And so they're like, hey, how about the stable? In other words, a better understanding is Jesus was born in a garage, okay? And I've been asking myself this question. I know it's not by chance. I know it's not random that the Lord would have ushered these events. Why a stable? Why was there no room? What is it that you're wanting us to see? I wrestle with this because I don't know about you. The idea of the Messiah being born next to animals bothers me. Okay, I don't even let my dog sleep in my bed. Okay? And I know some of you guys are like, hey, if it gets cold, throw another dog on. But that's like when I come into my bedroom and my dog is in my bed. Oh, you kids know what happens when your dog is in your bed? My dog's going to live at your house. You want to know what happens? All her hair gets everywhere. And then I'm laying here and I'm sleeping like this and I'm drooling. And guess what I wake up with? Drool hair. Drool hair is gross. I have come into my bedroom before and the dog is like standing on the bed like, what are you going to do? Her name's Mitzi. We also call her Ditzy. It's like, get off the bed. And for me to fathom, okay, the Messiah, the Lord, okay, the hands that hung the stars now have fingerprints, this whole concept is being born next to animals, it bothers me. It's like, God, you didn't choose the palace. You didn't choose royalty. You didn't choose to introduce yourself to us in a way that a king would have introduced his newborn son. You didn't choose any of that. In fact, you got kicked to the curb. You got kicked into the garage. What is going on? I don't know about you, but I feel like maybe you can relate to some of these things. In the last several days, have you felt stress trying to figure out what gifts you're getting for Christmas? Maybe I shouldn't say last several days. Days for me. If you guys are planners, last several months, you've been stressing over presents. Have you potentially yesterday? Hey, the 24th is the day you can start. I actually have found this to be true in my life. If you start last, you spend less. Praise God. Praise the Lord. You start last, you spend less. Yeah. We just celebrated our Christmas. We got a blended family, and we just did our Christmas last night and a little bit this morning. And once again, I got completely outgiven by my wife. And it bothers me because that's her love language. And I'm like, I fail. But if you start last, you spend less. So who knows? Maybe in the last couple of days, you've checked the tracking on a package at least once or twice. Anybody? Maybe you've been frustrated trying to sort out details with your family members. Maybe in the last several days, you've wondered if you're forgetting anything. I don't know about you, but on the way to church, did anyone get into a little bit of an argument with their spouse this morning? Is it just me and my wife? You guys need to be more honest in this church this morning. I tell you. Maybe you've been distressed over how to handle extended family. Maybe the last couple weeks with all the events and all these things, you've tried to figure out how in the world can I be in two places at once? Anybody been there? Yeah. Maybe you've been stressed about your finances and how much you know your spouse is spending on you. Maybe the last couple days, maybe through this month, you have felt a sense of loneliness and sadness. Maybe you felt a sense of loss. The reality that there's a name that won't be written on a present this year. There's a loved one that won't be sitting around the table this year. Just to let you into my little window, we have a stocking with a little girl's name on it. And yellow's her color. And that stocking doesn't get full, but it gets a yellow candy cane. That's my loss. Maybe the reality for you this Christmas is that as much as you want it to be the most wonderful time of the year, it's not. And when I ask myself the question, God, why the stable? Why the manger? I think it's because he knows that we will spend all of our time trying to fill our house. We're good at trying to fill the house. We're good at making sure all the rooms are ready. We're good at investing all of this time, but the reality is each one of us still have the stable. There's a part of each one of us that we don't necessarily want everyone to get in on. It's that part of us that the guests aren't welcome here. I'm not rolling out the bed for my guest in the stable. This is the part of me that I want to keep to the side. This is the part of me that I want to internalize. This is the part of me that is below everything else. It's full of the animals in my life, and it stinks. And God knew we would spend all of our time trying to build the house, trying to present ourselves, trying to get the guest room ready, trying to do this, trying to do that, and yet there was still deep down inside a stable. There's still a part that you and I don't necessarily want other people to be in on. For me, this morning, I realized how easy it is for us to try to present ourselves to each other. I'm wearing a brand new shirt, and it is silky, and it feels good. But can I be a little bit more vulnerable? I have been trying to fill out the sleeves the last 3 days by lifting a couple of dumbbells because these are a little bit bigger sleeves than I like, and I didn't feel like it, grabbed my bicep the way I wanted. And these shoes, they're brand new. And I'm wearing them. And I'm hoping you like them, but they're hurting my feet a little bit because they're not broken in. Here's the truth. You and I are really good at this. We stand in the morning and we look at the mirror and we get ourselves ready and we throw a tissue at the mirror because we're angry. I don't know. Maybe you don't do that. I don't do that either. It's a weird analogy. But we do this, right? We trying to make ourselves look good. But my question is, what do we do about our stable? What do we do about the part that hurts? What do we do about the part that aches? The part that is sinful? The part of us that we're like, no. I know the guest rooms are all full, but no one stays down there. I'm not letting anybody in there. What do we do? And what does God want us to see about him? I think it's simply this, and this is the one thought I want you to hear this morning. Jesus didn't come to earth to see how nice and full your house is. He came to earth to bring his presence to your stable. Jesus came to bring his presence to your chaos, to bring his presence to the part that you know is out of line, the part that is hurt, the part that is the thing you don't want anyone to touch. And even right now, as I'm talking about it, you're thinking about it, but you're like, I can't show him on my face that I'm feeling it. He came to give his presence to that. And we see it all through his ministry. How often we try to make ourselves good enough for God. We try to make ourselves good enough for church, for everyone else to think we've got it together. And Jesus knew we would be so busy trying to fill our house that we would never make room for him. And so he said, I'm going to come in through the stable. I'm going to come in through the part that no one else can touch. I'm going to come in through the part that no one else is allowed to see. I love this verse in Romans chapter 5, verse 8. But God demonstrated his own love for us, that while we were still sinners, other translation, my version, while we were still in our stable, while we were still not dealing with the mess that's underneath the rug, Christ died for us. He came because he knew the only one who could deal with what's in our stable was him. In Matthew, Jesus is eating, and he's sitting around a table, and I want you to see it here. Did I put this verse up? There it is. Matthew chapter 9, it says, while Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. In other words, Jesus is sitting, eating in the stable, so to speak, right? And when the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, why does your teacher eat with such scum and animals and disreputable sinners and nasty people and the people that no one wants to talk about or invite in? And why does he hang out in the stable? And this was Jesus' answer. It is not healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have not come to call the righteous, but those who know they are sinners. He came to earth through the stable because he didn't come to call the righteous. He came to heal the sinners. As you think about your Christmas, what do you do with the stress? I was preparing this message, and I was feeling stress. And it's amazing how many times I can be preparing a message, and then God goes, are you going to actually do what your message is talking about? And I had to stop and go, God, right now, this is my stable. All of this stress that I'm feeling, I don't want anyone to know. I want to keep it all together. This is where I'm at. Can you please meet me here? Maybe for you, it's loneliness. Maybe it's loss. Maybe it's a fractured relationship. Maybe it's between your husband and your wife. If you have both, that didn't come out right either. You and I all have it. And maybe we could this Christmas make sure that we allow Christ, that we make room for him into that part of our life. I want you to bow your heads this morning and close your eyes. And there's a song that's going to be sung. And I want this song to be your prayer. My question for you this morning is, what area, what stable in your life is it time for you to make room for him to bring his presence into? Maybe it's forgiveness. Maybe it's hurt. Maybe it's pain. But this morning, that Christmas could be more than just the presents under the tree, but it could be the baby in a manger in a stable in your life.